Hey guys, so this is my vintage Pfaff 545H3. It's a compound feed walking foot machine, and it's my daily use machine. Probably sees the most use out of all the machines that I have. Right now I have it set up for a binder attachment, actually using a right angle binder made by Sailrite. So it's this one here. Ignore this wood bracket here, but it's this right angle binder here. You need a right angle binder if you're going to be doing inside and outside edges. Without it, it's just way too difficult with the standard straight inline binder. So this is the right angle binder. This is the bracket that it originally had come with that mounts to the accessory holes here, and it keeps the allows you to adjust the binder, but it keeps it at a fixed distance from the needle. And it has worked really well for me. I've been happy with it, but I noticed on tight turns that I do get some drop if I'm sewing really right up to the line when I'm attaching binder right up to the edge. So you could see on something like this where it's right on the edge. On tight turns, I was getting drop off where the thread would drop off, the stitch would drop off around the edge on tight turns, and that's just because the distance between the needle and the binder isn't a fixed distance, or it is a fixed distance. Now, there are machines that are basically designed for applying binding, and that's something like, say, a Pfaff 335. And the reason why those are really so effective in their application of binding is because they use something called the synchronized binder, meaning that the actual binder moves. You set the binder a fixed distance from the needle, a couple millimeters, and actually as the needle moves forward, so does the binder. And they are always a fixed distance from each other regardless of where they are in the needle stroke. So you have very little opportunity for the stitch to drop off the binder when you're going around tight edges, because you're talking about a difference of a couple millimeters spacing. So those will apply a beautiful binding on whatever you're doing. But they're basically set up as dedicated machines once you set them up that way. For me, I'm trying to minimize what I have, the number of machines that I actually have to have set up. So I wanted to see if there was something out there for flatbed walking foot machines. So something like my Pfaff 545 here. And nothing exists. There are no synchronized binder attachments that I could find, and that of the people that I contacted as well that are out there. So I figured I would make something. And the reason why I thought that I could do that was because of this. If you look at, if you look at the feed dog here, and get it to focus, there we go. There's a little hole, and this whole cutaway. This is the needle plate. This is a dedicated binder set, but you can see there's a cutaway here, and then there's a hole in the feed dog. So I figured I could use that to control the motion of the binder, and then use one of these holes out here as a pivot point. So that's exactly what I came up with, and exactly what I did. So I actually ended up using some scrap maple that I had. This is an 1/8 of an inch thick, 1.5 inches wide. You could look on the back here. This is the bracket that I had to make because I am using a Sailrite binder. There are threads that are screwed into the back. So I just decided to use the existing hardware and the same setup. So I copied this and just made it out of maple. And I made a couple of them, and they were really quick to make. Basically, I just measured the width, set the fence on the bandsaw to that width, cut it, traced it, took it on the bandsaw, cut out the shape on the bandsaw, drilled 2 holes the same diameter as here, starting on each end, dropped a coping saw down, and connected the 2 lines. So this was really quick to make. I mean, I made a couple of them within 10 minutes. So then that way I could mount it onto this piece of wood, and I just glued it down. And really what makes this thing function is this little pin here on the end. So let me see if I can get it to focus and zoom in here. So this little pin here on the end that drops into that hole on the feed dog. And this was actually made using a shish kebab stick that I found in the kitchen. I did have a hardwood dowel that I was going to use, but it's a little bit thicker, and I was going to have to I was going to cut a little section off, put it in the drill press, and spin it, and just have it spin and take sandpaper to it until it got to the right diameter. But this shish kebab stick ended up working fine, and because it's made out of bamboo and really porous, I took advantage of that and used super glue, and those fibers just sucked the super glue right up. So this ended up becoming very hard because it absorbed all that super glue and hardened in there. And then I just mounted it onto the end. So the way that this thing actually functions is you drop the little pin in into the feed, and this is just a prototype too, so I'm remaking. I'm actually in the process of remaking it. I'm using some acrylic. I tapped and threaded a screw of comparable size, of diameter. I'm not sure. I think this might be an M4 size screw, and I just cut the head off. But I'm gonna epoxy or super glue that in place once I have it dialed in, and cut the top off, so it'll look just like that. But this is the wood prototype, and it works well. So I used a mounting point out here, used a little thumb screw, and you just drop that in. Now I'll show you what this looks like. So let me zoom in, and you'll see this. So I didn't set it up, like I haven't adjusted this yet, but you can see that this, as the inner foot moves, the entire system moves with it. So this is effectively a synchronized binder for a flatbed machine, and I'll show you how it runs right now. Let me thread. And I haven't adjusted the binder yet, but hopefully I can get it pretty quickly. So let me run the machine, thread some binding through it. And then you guys can see how it operates. It works really well. I'll show you a sample that I did here in a second, just as I was making it and practicing with it. Now, I don't know about the longevity of this wood one. That's why I'm remaking it. It's made out of hardwood, so it should be fine, but let me reposition here so I can get a little closer to the machine. So, grab that thread under there. Okay. And right now I just threw some T40 thread in here or whatever, but so you can see this is just a piece, oh, a little too close. This is just a piece of scrap vinyl that I have. I don't know where the stitch is going to be on this, but let's see. So you can see the binder is moving with the needle, and you can go around on these edges. Well, that's not too bad actually. I didn't even set up the binder, but it's pretty close. So you can go around I don't want to go too fast with the machine because I am a little bit worried about the pin breaking because it is wood. But and then you can loosen the screw here on the end. Just loosen it just a little bit, and you can lift it up and pivot it out of the way, or just remove it entirely. And you're talking just a couple not even, to remove that. And then, so here is the result. You can see how close to the edge I was able to get, and I could probably get closer, but that's a pretty good distance actually. And then around the edges is really close, and this is a tight edge. You see the stitch length shorten, and that'll happen when you're going around in an edge like that. And then on the back, you can see with the contrasting thread that it's the same thing. It looks really good. So this worked out really well. I'm really happy with it, and I thought I would share because it doesn't exist. It wasn't that difficult to make, and it would be even easier to make if you didn't have this sailrite where you have to make this binder. Some of them just basically use like an L bracket to attach down to the bed. So you can buy one of those cheaper binders made for like a standard lock stitch bottom feed machine, and you can adapt it to this design and not have to make this bracket. All you need to do is make the plate and the pin. And yeah, so I mean, you're talking about a quickly removing, really effective binder attachment. You can see all the scraps that when I was experimenting. Some of these I was able to get really tight, and it's still with not having any drop off. So this is with a lot thicker thread. That's why it doesn't look so great. But you can see around those edges, even on something this tight, no drop off at all. So just thought I would share. It's a synchronized binder for a flatbed machine. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment, and hopefully I can answer them. So there you go. Thanks.